Have any of you had the opportunity to travel out of the country over the last 18 months? I know a lot of us haven't, and it's when you don't travel for a while, you don't do something for a while. Maybe you see things differently. Maybe that's how they always were, but you didn't really notice. Oh, by the way, welcome to this episode of the Social Spreader on a Tuesday. I'm sure all of you noticed that I was off for a week. My apologies to my cauldrons of listeners and followers. I was privileged enough to spend the week down in the Bahamas. Check out my Instagram page for a pretty good visual of what their sports book is all about down at the Grand Hyatt Baha Mar. One of the greatest resorts that I've ever stayed at, had the privilege to stay at. They've got incredible food, they've got an incredible casino, the pool and the beach and everything. If you have any interest at all in going down to the Bahamas, I legitimately recommend staying there. But that's not what we're going to talk about here today. I want to talk about traveling and also a little bit, something else in regard to what traveling is. However, the reason why I was asking you is if you've ever had a chance to fly or go out of the country the last 18 months is because it's hard in terms of what you need to do in terms of testing negative, and then you got to come back in, and then you got to take another test, and there's so many hoops that you need to jump through. We had to get a visa to literally go 20 minutes outside of Miami. Would have rather gone. I'm just kidding. I love the Bahamas, but I do love South Beach. Anyway, and I don't know if this has always been how it is, or if just because we took a hiatus now that we see things a little differently. But and this is not fat shaming. I'm going to repeat that. What I'm about to talk about is not fat shaming. I will never make fun of anybody for being large. A lot of people have health problems. A lot of people have food problems. A lot of people have addiction to food. And even though 6 out of every 10 people in this country are considered morbidly obese, that's a whole other discussion for a whole other day. But what I want to talk about is this. And I tried numerous times to kind of come up with like easier verbiage, but I don't know how else to say it because it's so unfair to so many people on so many levels. So I'm just going to say it. And I'm so excited to hear the freedom fighters who didn't want to wear masks come and fight for freedom here. An airline, just like a store, just like any other business, can say no shirt, no shoes, no mask, no service. And an airline needs to be able, $2 fine, needs to be able to ask somebody, how wide is your ass? If you cannot fit in one seat on an airplane, I'm not going to shame you. We're not going to go down that road. But if you can't fit in one seat, you have to buy two. It is unfair for you to think that it's okay for you to completely engulf one seat and carry over to the middle seat when someone's already riding bitch. Someone's already in the middle. And for you to think that it's okay for you to only have one seat is horseshit. It's total horseshit. And so this is something that I think the airlines need to start is, hey, are you a heavier person? And if you there's an option, yes or no. If you click no, there will be a disclaimer saying if you choose no, this means that you can adequately sit within the confines of one chair on an airplane. If you get to the airplane and you cannot do that, you will be kicked off the plane and you will not get a refund. You can get a credit towards the other seat that you're going to have to purchase, but you cannot travel because you lied and because it is not fair for the other person if you can't sit in one seat. It's not fair for a total stranger next to you to have to sit next to you. That's a new rule. I'm putting it into the ether right now. New rule. When they ask you what your name is, passenger information. Are your hips too large to fit in a seat? Yes or no? And to anybody who has a chance to fly into Houston, please don't. And I never relinquish an opportunity to give 2 middle fingers to Texas, so I'm doing it right now. Houston Airport, just like your city, is the most terribly laid out toilet in the country. Hands down, top 10 worst airport in the country. It fucking sucks. It is so bad. And also, if you are traveling, and whether or not you have COVID, that's fine. We're still in COVID times. I don't know if any of you noticed, but 1,200 people are still dying every fucking day. Every day. This pandemic is not over. And so if you are on an airplane and you have a cough, you have the flu, you've got anything that makes you consistently sneeze or cough, I say this with the utmost disrespect. You selfish piece of shit, stay the fuck home. When my wife and I, we flew from Denver to Houston, which sucked. Oh my God, the worst flight ever. Turbulence the whole way. And coming into Houston, you'd swear we were coming in a hurricane. And then from Houston to the island, to the Bahamas. On the way home, we took the same route. And on the way home, we sat next to a man from Denver to Houston, and I hope he's listening or one of his relatives is, because, you know, my droves of followers are probably going to have that reach. Anyway, not only did your fat ass hardly fit in the seat, and this is when I'll get mad at you, but you coughed the entire time next to people who have a 10-month-old son and are trying to keep him healthy and trying to keep him safe. You coughed the whole fucking time. And on top of that, how are your 7 cookies and your Coca-Cola in an hour and a half? That's when my sympathy and my fat shaming might actually happen. I know that a lot of people have a lot of health issues. But if you have a cough or the flu or anything, stay the fuck home. Within the 16 seats in a 6-foot radius around me or my wife, 7 people were consistently coughing. This is a public service announcement to everyone. Stop being selfish. Get the fuck over yourself. And if you're sick or anything, don't get on a fucking airplane. Stay the fuck home. Now, the resort was fantastic, except for this. And this is a rant that I've wanted to go on for a long time. I want to start off by just giving you an indication of what we're working with here. Let's talk about hotel chains. Now, I get it. There's a million hotels out there. So let's just start with the top 3, okay? Hilton. Profits, this is pre-COVID. Profits of $10 billion, paid their CEO $56 million. Marriott, profits of $6 billion, paid its CEO $16 million. Hyatt, which we stayed at in the Bahamas, $5 billion, and paid its CEO $13 million. So, aside from the total utter bullshit of paying your employees minimum wage while your CEOs make that much, apparently no one in the hotel industry of any chain is capable of buying a decent fucking pillow. Am I right, people? Am I the only one who sees this? You can stack 3 of them on top of each other, and you're still going to wake up with the stiffest neck that you've ever had because they have no support. I spent $700 a night at a fucking resort, and not one pillow was worth the shit. Can someone tell me how the fuck that happens at every single fucking hotel? Why can we not have nice pillows? Why can we not have pillows that simply give us, I don't know, support? Do hotel people think that human beings just sleep on mattresses and they sleep flat on their backs? Because if you're a side sleeper, if you're a front sleeper, any way, shape, or form other than just sleeping on your back, you're fucked at a hotel. You're fucked. There's nothing you can do about it unless you have a couch in that room that can give you the support that you need. Hotel pillows are straight up shit. Why is that? Why can no one give me a straight answer, or any answer, straight answer, I don't care if it's curved, as to why hotel pillows blow? Why are they so bad? It's ridiculous no matter where you go. And with all the money that they apparently have, whether or not that's a whole other discussion for a whole other day. I know I'm a little off my rocker, but am I crazy here? Like, why can't we get a pillow in a hotel room that is worth a damn or can give some kind of support? I will never understand it. Never. So, if you are going to take my advice and travel to the Bahamas, and as I've said, I'm extremely privileged in that regard. My beautiful, talented, and extremely level-headed wife is phenomenal. From a corporate America, climb the corporate ladder, make corporate money, make whatever you want to do out of your career. She is the most successful person I know, and I guarantee she's the most successful person that you know. And so we are very lucky in that regard that we do get to go down to that resort for an entire week for free. Even though I've told her before it's not for free. Your blood, sweat, and tears earn that trip. And so, yeah, hashtag first world problems. I go down to a 5-star resort and the pillows suck. But yeah, just wanted to give a fair and honest assessment about hotel pillows, that they suck. And so if you do go to that resort, if you are lucky enough to do that, bring a pillow. Treat it as a sleepover when you were a kid. Let's do some lines. So as always, these lines are brought to you by oddshark.com. They are the number one resource for me, at least, just in terms of how I look at the spreads. I've went over this numerous times. And so what we're going to look at here today, we're going to look at a couple games in college hoops. If you've been following with the show a couple episodes ago, maybe in the last episode, when you take a week off, you tend to kind of not recall all of it. But I think I found about 19 teams that were very good against the spread. Now, I understand that a couple of them have since returned to earth, as you will. One of the things that I always say is reverting to the mean is something that when it comes to sports gambling, I truly believe that is something that is going to be just 95% of the time. There's always going to be outlier teams that always go on a run all year against the spread. There's no rhyme or reason. There's certainly no way to predict it. But I do believe that a lot of teams come to earth. And I don't know for sure if that's what's currently happening with the 5 games that I want to look at here tonight. All I know is that what we're trying to do on this show is we're trying to find good leans, we're trying to find good edges, we're trying to find fades, we're trying to pick winners, because cashing tickets is what it's all about. And so the first game that I want to look at here tonight are, as people who have listened to this, I tend to go non-mainstream, just because those are the games that generally, don't get the hype or the handle. And so I do tend to think that sometimes the casinos will be a little bit more lax in terms of their approach to that line. The first game is UNC Greensboro against the Towson Tigers. Now, I know what you're asking. Jesus, Kevin, why the hell are we talking about UNC Greensboro and Towson? Is it Towson or is it Towson? Because it's Towson. Either way, the reason why we're talking about it is because the Towson Tigers are 9-2 against the spread. That's why. Because they have been an utter cash cow. And I'm looking at the home and away splits right now. And look, Towson is 3-1 at home. They're 2-2 against the spread, but they are 9-2 overall. Now that I'm looking at it, I'm not as confident as I was beforehand, simply because UNC Greensboro is not too horrible of a team. They're 11-4 straight up in their last 15 games, but get this, they just scored 36 points against Tennessee. And Towson kept up with Ohio State. They also played San Francisco tough. I'm going Towson at home to cover 6.5. Get it wherever you got it, okay? The other team that's very interesting is Monmouth, the Monmouth Hawks. According to my research, according to what I know LSU has one loss against the spread. Monmouth is 10-0. They are 10-0 against the spread, and they're 6-2 straight up on the road. They're 8-0. They're 8-0 against the spread on the road, and they're catching a point. It looks like it's going to be a pick'em. They're at Yale. Yale's 6-6. I'm going to check the injury report because maybe I'm missing something. Yale just got blown out by Iona. Auburn crushed them. Stony Brook crushed them. Monmouth looks good. I am sticking with it because they're 10-0 against the spread, and I've had them in 8 of them. So, Monmouth today. Let's go. The next game that we're looking at are the Raging Cajuns of Louisiana Lafayette against the Houston Cougars. Why are we looking at that, you ask? Because Houston is 7-3 against the spread. They're also 6-0 straight up at home, 4-2 against the spread at home. And I always feel like in these interstate type of things, if a team is superior, they kind of want to flex that, if you will. Houston's a 23-point favorite. I don't know if that's justifiable, but what I do know is this. Louisiana Lafayette on the road is 1-3. They don't cover. They're 1-2-1 against the spread, and they hit the under. They're 1-3 to the under. Okay? They're also 2-4 straight up in their last 6. Their road offense, they average 64 points. Houston averages 82 points at home. So, there's your 20. All right? Louisiana Lafayette gives up 75 a game. If Houston might hang 100 on them here tonight. And so that's kind of my way of thinking. Plus, we've got a pretty 500 Louisiana Lafayette's 3-3-1 against the spread. Houston's 7-3. Whenever you've got two teams that are kind of on opposite ends against the spread, I think that's a good lean. The other team that's been an utter shock to everybody, DePaul. The Blue Demons out of inner city Chicago are 8-1 straight up and 8-1 against the spread. They are playing the University of Illinois Chicago. Again, another opportunity where there's an interstate. This is more inner city, if you ask me. And I think DePaul's pretty good, actually. They beat Louisville. The only game that they've lost all year is against Loyola Chicago, which is obviously a very good team. We all know them. And UIC, I mean, they're not terrible. They are, they're 3-6, but they're 4-4 against the spread. They got a losing record at home. And so right now the spread is DePaul at 10. I think there's value there, and I think DePaul's a good lean. They are 1-0 against they're 1-0 straight up and 1-0 against the spread. DePaul is just on a roll right now. They're playing really good ball. And the last 3 times that DePaul has played UIC, it's not been pretty. It's 3-0 straight up, 3-0 against the spread. I think DePaul's a good lean. The other game, actually, you know what? Before we do that, let's do this one. So this is a good example. Never mind. We're gonna do this one first. So Alabama's playing Memphis. Okay, Memphis. I believe they were top 10 preseason. They're 5-4. They're 3-6 against the spread. Their team really hasn't gelled that much. And when you're young and whatnot, it kind of takes a minute. And Alabama's good. They were good last year. They've had a lot of neutral site games. They played 4 games. Half their schedule has been on a neutral site, and so I do think that that's a good indication of how they are away from home. This is going to be at Memphis. Memphis is 4-1 straight up at home, but they're 2-3 against the spread. Alabama's a 3-point favorite. As a favorite, they are 7-1, and this is the first time Memphis has been an underdog all year. I think a good lean would be towards Alabama, which is rare for me to say because normally I say if you can get home in points, that's a good thing. But Alabama's 6-3 against the spread. Memphis is 3-6. The last and Memphis has, granted, they've played good teams, but they've lost their last 4 games. They've been close, but they've lost their last 4. They've lost to Iowa State. They got blown out by Iowa State. Then they lost to Georgia. They lost to Ole Miss, and they lost to Murray State. Murray! If anybody gets that analogy, you have no idea how happy you just made me. Alabama, their 2 losses were to UCLA and Iona, and they just beat Gonzaga. They just beat Houston. And I think they're rolling. They're 8-1 straight up in their last 9, and I think it's a good lean simply because of all of the exposure away from home. Whether it's a true road game or a neutral site, from an athlete's standpoint, the sight lines are so different. So that's all that really matters to me from a wagering perspective. If you can shop around and see if you can get it closer to 3 or 2.5, I'd feel happier with that. But I do still think that Alabama is a good lean. So the next game that we're going to look at is going to be an exercise and a prime example of a fade. Okay, the UC Santa Barbara Gauchos, and for any of you college hoops heads, you know that they've been a pretty good program the last couple of years. They're playing at Pacific. The Pacific Tigers, so UC Santa Barbara is 5-3 straight up. They're 3-3 against the spread. Nothing to write home about. Pacific is 4-6 straight up, but they're 1-7 against the spread. They are catching points at home, and I just think though, and this is just me, and if you disagree, that's fine. I think when a team is an underdog, they know they are. And Pacific is 0-4 as a dog. They also have a losing record against the spread at home. And you see Santa Barbara 6-3 against the spread in their last 9 games. And so now that dates all the way back to last year. But I do think that when you look at a team like Pacific that has lost to San Jose State by 12 as a 1-point dog, was a 3-point favorite against Cal Fullerton, lost by 11. They were a 3-point dog against UC Davis and lost by 6. So I look at what UC Santa Barbara is in terms of a program. And these are the games that they win. These are the games that a team like this wins. And so I do think that it's a good lean towards UC Santa Barbara just because Pacific's terrible. 1-7 against the spread. And so that's what I think we should do tonight. That's where I'm gonna be leaning. I don't see too many other. I'm gonna pull up ESPN real quick. ESPN too not the channel ESPN2, like ESPN as well. If you're looking for some kind of a resource that can give you a quick little snippet of what a matchup is, if you go to the NCAA men's schedule, and if you're on your phone, you can just click on the game. But if you're on a computer, click on the time. And for instance, I'm clicking on Central Connecticut against Stony Brook. Okay, if you click on the time where it says that, then that brings you to the matchup. And lo and behold, I may have found some gold. So the Central Connecticut Blue Devils are 2-8. They're 1-5 on the road. The Stony Brook Seawolves are 5-4, but they're 4-1 at home. Now, here's the kicker. Okay, Stony Brook's getting 14 points. Central Connecticut is 6-4 against the spread, and they've played some pretty good teams, pretty tough. Man, the Blue Devils from Central Connecticut, that might be a lean. How about that? The other team that I wanted you guys to be made aware of as well is Louisiana State University, where Brian Kelly is making an absolute foolish asshole out of himself with that stupid dance. But anyway, LSU on the hard court's 8-1 against the spread, and they are 36-point favorites against Northwestern State. Northwestern State is in Louisiana, and again, I think this is one of those games where I could see 95-50. So I do think that LSU might be a good lean. I don't normally lay that many points, but in this instance, I think I might. There was one other game that I wanted to look up as well. There it is. So Grambling is playing UAB. And Grambling is 0-6 on the road. UAB is 6-0 at home. UAB is also 7-1 against the spread this year. They're catching 28 points. I think I might lay them, just because the only loss that's really worth looking at for UAB this year, San Francisco, for you people who do not know, they're a pretty good team. They also lost they lost a tough one at South Carolina, who's sneaky good at home too, by the way. But Grambling is 1-7 against the spread. They're 3-7 straight up. UAB's 8-2 straight up, 7-1 against the spread, catching 28. I can see them winning by 30. So there's one that I'm going to go with too. There was another one that I wanted to look up as well on ESPN, just because sometimes OddsShark, they don't have all of the games. And so there it is. All right. Coppin State, Drexel. I know. I'm really going after the headliners here. The Blue Bloods. So Coppin State is 1-13, but they're 0-12 on the road. I do believe there's something with their school where they're not allowed to play at home, because why else would they be on the road all the time? But they're 9-5 against the spread, and Drexel is 5-3. Never mind, that's a hard pass. Wow. The other thing too, though, that I want to make you guys aware of is there's another team that is pretty much winless against the spread. Well, they're not winless, but they're almost winless. Oregon State is 1-8 straight up, but they're also 1-8 against the spread, and they are playing the UC Davis Aggies, and they're catching 6 at home. That's a toughie. I don't know too much in regard to Oregon State. I mean, they lost to Penn State. They took Wake Forest to overtime. They lost to Princeton. Either way, I like to try to find teams that are either really good against the spread or are really bad, because that's where you're going to find value. You're going to find value fading horrible teams and leaning against them, or taking leans on teams that are good. So I hope I rambled your ear off enough on a Tuesday. Thanks for subscribing here. Take my advice on hotel pillows. Get your own pillows. And again, be courteous to people on airplanes. Look in the mirror before you go on an airplane. And if you have any action tonight, good luck with your bets.